Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So left to right we have the Asvine V169 and this is in the transparent green with gold trim. A Asvine V169 and this is in the transparent clear with gold trim. We have an Asvine V169 and this is in the coffee transparent gold trim. We have another Asvine V169 and you're seeing a bit of a picture here, a bit of a pattern. This is the transparent blue with silver trim. And then we have an Asvine V169 in the green transparent in silver trim. We have an Asvine P36. We have a Montegrappa Extra High Tech. We have a Cross Peerless 125. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian marble. And then we have an Onoto Magna Classic in the chased green. So I think let's go through these in a little bit more detail. So these Asvines I've been on a little bit of a kick for recently. I bought 4 and that was after I had this one, the green transparent with silver trim, on loan to me. Still on loan at the moment from a friend, Gary Dapperman, at my local pen club. And after trying that, I found it was a really good writer. So I decided to buy 4 myself. And I got the green transparent in this gold trim. And you can see here, these are really good price pens. These are around £45, euros, dollars. These are really good. They do come with essentially an Asvine nib. I got a medium nib on this one. It's a clear demonstrator with a I believe it's a steel overlay and then it's gold plated in this one, or in these I think it's rhodium plated. You do have an ink window, you do have screw threads. It very much reminds me of the Visconti watermark that I do love a lot. The size of the pen in my hand is actually really good. It has a concave section. It does have an Asvine Chinese nib. Although on some of the Asvine models like the P36 you can get a Bock nib, so it wouldn't surprise me if they get the option of having maybe a Bock nib on these V169s. Although typically, and I'm just thinking out loud about this, I'm not sure I've seen a Bock steel nib gold plated. I'm just trying to think, maybe I have. I know I've seen Yovo gold-plated nibs, but I'm not so sure if I've seen Bock. So that might be the reason why they've not done this. You can post the cap. It does post over this piston. It is a piston filling pen, so you do have to be careful when posting that cap. But this is actually a really, really nice pen. So I've got that one inked up today. The next one is exactly the same. It's an Asvine V169, but this is in what they call the transparent clear. So I think Asvine are basically calling the demonstrators transparent because you can see the ink levels and you can see the nib and feed through this overlay. But then they make another determination on what that transparent looks like. So this was green in this first one. This is clear that you can see here. So it is just a clear acrylic, and you can see that there. If I show you up close, it is clear. But again, like it's a piston filling pen. You've got a little bit of an ink window. Although to be honest, I find that ink window very hard to actually judge because there seems to be threads there. So it's a little bit hard to judge. It does have, again, an Asvine medium nib. You can get these in, I believe, extra fine, and medium. I think the Bock ones you can then get into broad and double broad, potentially. But these are actually really nice. Again, you can post the cap on this. You do have to be careful though, because it will, if you're not careful, turn the piston knob. It doesn't post deeply over and beyond the piston knob, so you do have to just bear that in mind. The next one here is the Asvine V169, and this is in what they call the transparent coffee. So this is, if I unscrew the cap, you'll see this a little bit more. It does have this like coffee-like sort of brown tinge to it, to be honest. Now this line you can see here is actually the inner cap that you can see in there that the section will butt up against. But again, this is I think I like this one a little bit better than the clear version, just because it just adds a little bit of extra color to that acrylic inside. But these overlays are pretty nice. They are fingerprint magnets because they are polished to a high standard. Again, you can post the cap if you want to, but you've got to be careful here. One, you might scratch that finish on the end cap or piston knob here, but then like you might also twist that as well. So just have to be a little bit careful, a little bit mindful if you are going to post those caps. The next one, this is the fourth one that I bought, is what they call the Asvine V169 in the transparent blue. Now, hopefully you can see the difference there, because it again is a transparent blue acrylic that they are using there. So basically what they've done is they've just, I'm guessing, just dyed the acrylic and stained the acrylic to just added some pigment to it, just to make it look a little bit more coloured. I do like that because this also helps me choose what colour ink I'm going to put in here. So with a transparent blue, I'm going to put a blue ink in here. So that's exactly what I have done here. So that is again a nice V169. And the one that started it all off was this one that I had on loan and still have on loan from Gary Dapperman. Now that is very low on ink. But again, this is the green transparent, which is the same as this one. But I want to show the difference here. One is in silver and one trim, and one is in gold trim. Plated, of course, not actual gold, not solid gold or solid silver. But these are interesting pens for sure. So for me, this was what started that off. I was a little bit dubious of actually buying one before I got this one on loan from Gary, but after trying it and trying the nib, I actually realised that for this price, which is the price of about a TWSBI, most likely, it was actually pretty good. It's somewhere between probably a TWSBI, well, it's probably around about the price of a TWSBI Diamond 580, I'm guessing. And I honestly think you actually get a little bit more bang for your buck here in terms of quality, in terms of pen, compared to maybe the VAC 700R. You're getting a piston on this, not a power vac filler, but then that is going to be more expensive. But I think the quality on this, the quality control, is absolutely superb. So again, though, these are fingerprint magnets. I think there is maybe 6, or I might have even seen 8 colours that you can get in this pen. The next pen here is again another Asvine, and I want to say that these are potentially Visconti watermark knockoffs or Mont Blanc. I think it's a Solitaire. No, the skeleton knockoffs. This one here is an Asvine P36. And again, about the same price as these Asvine V169s. But this is in titanium. And titanium is an interesting material. It's very lightweight compared to steel. Aluminium is also lightweight. Titanium is a lot more harder to work with. And up until a couple of years ago, titanium was about 30 times the price of steel per kilogram. It has actually come down a lot in price now. I think it's only about 4 to 5 times as much. But this is, again, I want to say a copy, a knockoff of the Conid bulk filler. And although I've not owned a Kona bulk filler, I've been able to use them at my pen clubs a number of times. And this, I have to say, is very, very similar. It is piston though. Again, it's not going to be a sort of vac filling pen, or actually, I think the Kona is more of a. It's not. I don't think it's a vac filler. I think it. I'd have to double check. It's been a long time since I've used one, but I think it was like a piston filler, but you can actually lock off the piston at the top. This is a really nice pen. Again, in the size of my hand. Unfortunately, with pistons, you're only going to fill out about half the barrel because of the mechanism. You do have on this one a Bock nib. You can get these with a Bock nib, steel nib, or you can get it with an Asvine nib. Now, typically the Bock nib is around about £10 to £15 euro dollar more. However, on Amazon, it was the same price. So I decided if I had the option of getting an Asvine nib with the pen versus a Bock nib, I would get a Bock nib. So I did get a Bock nib on this one. So very, very glad I did. And I can post the cap again. But again, it doesn't post beyond the piston knob here. So you do have to be a little bit careful when trying to get that cap off. But I have to say this is actually a nice pen to write with. These Asvines, these 4 Asvines I bought on Amazon. You can buy them on eBay. I think you can buy them on Etsy and probably many other marketplaces as well. This one I did buy on Amazon, but Amazon didn't stock it, so it did have to ship from China. I'm very tempted to maybe get another one or two of those because I so far I am liking these. The next one inked up here is the Montegrappa Extra. It's a 1930 shape model, but this is called the High Tech. And you'll see here it says Montegrappa, and then you've got the Montegrappa sort of pattern there. Carbon fiber body, and this is more of like a steel, I think steel case, but you have the titanium here as well. You have a number 8 size Montegrappa nib, so really liking that. Now this is a cartridge converter, so it's not a piston, but I am liking this a lot. I can post the cap if I want to. It's not a piston knob on this. It is fixed in place because it is a cartridge converter, but this is quite a nice pen. So I have that inked up this week, and all of these pens I probably don't yet have a review of, but maybe a few of these I may have. So I will be releasing reviews on these in a little bit more detail, going over the pen and that. The next pen here is a Cross Peerless 125. It always irks me a little bit. I'm right-handed, not left-handed. So if I pick up a pen, I'm going to pick it up like this. And the word cross is upside down. I kind of feel that the way that they've designed this is it's for left-handed writers. It just irks me. I don't know why, but it does. You do have this Swarovski crystal there. It has this lovely sort of like textured guilloche pattern going on, almost like a barley pattern. It is a screw thread, and it does have a sailor nib. It's not a King of Pen nib, it's a number 6 size nib. It does say Cross Peerless 125 on there. It's an 18 karat gold nib. However, these nibs are made by Sailor, and it is a cartridge converter, so I can unscrew the body there. You can post the cap. Now you can post it quite securely, and it suctions on to the point that I struggle to get the cap off again, because it locks into what is essentially this little channel here. So I do struggle a little bit to get that off. I don't, as you know, probably post my caps. Very rarely do I, but that to me, if you're not careful, can have you throwing the pen across the desk, or at least jerking the pen a little bit and having some ink come out of that nib and feed. At least that's the way that I feel when I'm wrestling, trying to get that cap off of the body. The next pen inked up is another newer pen, the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian marble. I do like these. I am partial to these. I don't have every colour Medici Il Magnifico because there are some colours that just don't appeal to me. This one did appeal to me more so from the online pictures. I think a little less in person, but I am still loving the pen, loving how it writes. I like the marble. I like the brass cap here and the knob as well. The brass section, it's got a hook safe lock mechanism, and it's got the newer 18 karat gold nib, in-house nib from Visconti, made by Bock. I still believe that technically they call it an in-house nib because they are checking the nibs more, or possibly assembling the nibs in-house. It's a little bit of a, is it really an in-house nib? Is it made in-house? No. Is it sort of put together and assembled in-house? Possibly yes. Is it checked in-house? Possibly yes. But Visconti call it the in-house made nib, the newer nib, so that's what I'm calling it. But is it actually made by Visconti? I'm 95% sure it is not. And then the last pen that inked up this week is the Onoto Magna Classic, and you've seen this many times before. I have done a review of this pen as well. Now, I did in the review, I had it with, I bought it second hand from Roy at Izod's, and no real issue to Roy here. But because the pen was second hand, it came with a nib that had been ground, and it had been ground to a crisp metallic, and there was virtually no tipping on the underside. I did try to smooth the nib out, and I got it writing as best as I could, but I still, with other Onotos, found that the nib wasn't as good. So in March this year at the London Pen Show, I decided to buy another Onoto nib and screwed that in, and I am really loving how this writes now. So I did pick this up really for a good price from Roy at Izod's. It wasn't advertised that the nib had been modified. Honestly, I think it's nothing against Roy. I bought quite a few pens from Roy, quite a lot of pens from Roy, and his sales have always been good. I think if you took, if any seller took a pen to resell and they had a look at the nib, a lot of the time they wouldn't be able to tell if it had been ground or not. So I don't blame Roy on that one. It's more so the seller, the original owner of the pen who sold it to Roy at Izod's hadn't really let that one be known. So I bought it thinking it was just a regular nib, and it had been custom ground. So that's just a little bit of a warning when you're buying used pens. Whether or not you're buying it from the original owner or you're buying it through another website, just be a little bit on edge when you're buying that. Ask the questions if you can. Get a better look at the nib, because it could be that the nib has been modified, and it's just one of those things. So that's my currently inked pens for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen here on the ink writing sample is the Asvine V169 in the transparent green in gold trim. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And you can see that these actually write quite nice and quite wet. These are actually nice writing nibs, even though they are a still Asvine nib and not maybe a Bock or a Jowo. So this is the Asvine V169, and it's the transparent green, and it's gold trim, and it's a medium, and it's a still Asvine nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it's ultra green, which is quite an interesting green that I'm liking a lot lately, and might actually become one of my favourite greens over time. The next pen here is the Asvine V169 transparent clear with gold trim. So we'll do another ink swatch. And this is, again, a nice writing nib, I have to say, quite wet. So this is the Asvine V169, and it's the, what they call the transparent clear. With gold trim. And again, it's a medium, and it's a steel Asvine nib. And the ink in here today is Diamine Ochre, which is very fastly becoming my favourite brown colour ink. The next pen here is the Asvine V169 in the transparent coffee. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, not a bad writing nib. I'd say maybe it's a little bit drier, but that could also be the ink as well. So this is the Asvine V169, and it's the transparent coffee, again with gold trim, and it's a medium steel Asvine nib. And then the ink in here, because it's a coffee coloured pen, I've put in KWZ Cappuccino, which is a nice brown colour, coffee colour. So I decided I would pair the two of those up. The next pen is the Asvine V169 in transparent blue, and that's in silver trim. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, I have to say that this is quite a nice writing nib. I'm actually surprised by these Asvine nibs. I don't know why I should be, but I am, interestingly enough. I've had some good and bad experiences with Jinhao nibs from China. A lot of the 450s were fine. Most of the X159s weren't bad. Some of them were pretty good. Some of them not so good. But the X250s were terrible. So I guess my expectations is middle of the road for these nibs, and these have actually impressed me, to be honest. So this is the Asvine V169, and this is in the transparent blue, and it's silver trim. I say silver, it's probably either chrome or palladium plated. I'm guessing probably chrome. And then the nib in here again is a medium Asvine steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine China Blue, which it is an interesting blue. And I wasn't sure what blue to ink this up with. I thought a lot of blues will stain it. I did think of a turquoise, and I thought, well, maybe turquoise might be nice, but it wouldn't maybe match the blue colour of that transparent look. So I decided in the end to go with Diamine China Blue, which for me has been quite a safe ink. The next pen, and the last of these Asvine V169s, is the transparent green with silver trim. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a teal coloured ink, and again, this nib writes very, very well. This again is an Asvine. It is a medium nib, so this is an Asvine V169 transparent green in silver trim. And this writes very wet, medium, and it's an Asvine steel nib. And then the ink in here is a Diamine Till Breaker, which is a UK exclusive ink. I believe it was the Fountain Pen UK group that actually did that ink. The next pen is the Asvine P36. We'll do an ink swatch here, and I do have this inked up with quite a dry ink, and I think that's why this does look quite dry. I have to say I'm not really a favourite of this ink, but this is the Asvine P36 transparent. Well, it's actually called a titanium, but it's a transparent demonstrator. It's got a medium, it's got a Bock steel nib on here. And then the ink in here is Dominant Industry. Now, most Dominant Industry inks I've tried so far, excluding the shimmer inks or pearl inks, have actually been pretty wet writers, but this one I find very dry. And this is Tesaveret. So if you like a dry green ink, then maybe go for that one. Personally, I probably will flush that out and ink it up with something else. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Extra High Tech. This is an extra 1930 model, but in the high tech trim. Do an ink swatch. And again, quite a wet writing nib, but not too wet to be a fire hose. So this is the Montegrappa Extra, and it's a high tech, and it's a medium, and it's a 18 karat gold nib from Montegrappa. And then the ink in here is KWZ Cappuccino, which is what I used up here. And let's see if I can actually spell cappuccino right. There you go. Maybe I just need to actually think about it when I'm writing the word. I always want to put an A instead of a U. The next pen inked up here is the Cross Peerless 125. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a sailor nib. I find it's not a very wet writing nib, but again, it might be a little bit to do with the ink. I've not tried this ink in any other pen yet. So this is the Cross Peerless 125. But I do typically find sailor-made nibs are normally on the drier side than wet. Now this has, I want to say it's a medium nib. I think it is, pretty sure. Just having a look. Yeah, it's a medium nib. And it's an 18 karat gold nib as well. And then the ink in here is Van Wustus. And I always want to say Aquity Spargy because I use that ink so much. It's actually Vinaccia. But this is a nice sort of purplish coloured ink. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Egyptian marble. So we'll do another ink swatch here. Now this is a very light ink, and I'm tempted to change it out for a gold coloured ink instead of a yellow, dark yellow ink. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico Egyptian marble. And it is a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib from Visconti. And the ink in here is KWZ El Dorado. And it has some brilliant shading. And I do think it actually matches the colour of that pen as well. And then the last pen here is the Onoto, and it is the Magna Classic in the chased green. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And this is with the replacement nib that I got, and I find these medium nibs like super wet. Starting to actually think I need more Onoto medium nibs. So this is the Onoto Magna Classic in the chased green. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. These are made by Bock, these Onoto nibs, the steel nibs, sorry, the gold nibs. The steel nibs are made by Yovo. And then the ink in here is Diamine Meadow. But you can see that this is a very, very wet writing nib. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked one more time. So we have an Asvine V169 in a transparent green, in gold trim, in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine Ultra Green. We have an Asvine V169 in a transparent clear with gold trim, in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine Ochre. We have an Asvine V169 transparent coffee in gold trim, in a medium steel nib inked up with KWZ Cappuccino. We have an Asvine V169 transparent blue in silver trim, in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine China Blue. We have an Asvine V169 transparent green in silver trim, in a medium steel nib inked up with Diamine Tillbreaker. We have an Asvine P36 titanium in a medium box steel nib inked up with Dominant Industry to Savert. We have a Montegrappa extra high-tech medium nib in an 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Cappuccino. We have a Cross Peerless 125 in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Venustus Vinaccia. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico Egyptian marble in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ El Dorado. And then we have an Onoto Magna Classic chased green in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.